Tonight on Joy News Prime, National Labour Commission says notice it will cite striking nurses for contempt for defying court orders to embark on nationwide strike over conditions of service.
We've been notified that we were bringing them an invitation from the commission and the order from the court. We were waiting when they left through another listing and drove their vehicles away.
Meanwhile, the Registered Nurses and Midwives Association is accusing the NLC of using the court to intimidate them as scores of patients nationwide are left stranded at various hospitals across the country.
But now, because they're not taking any care of the sister. And when she's vomiting still, the blood is coming. So I don't even know what to do.
Also in this bulletin, opposition NDC demands independent probe into some constituencies in the ongoing voter exhibition exercise, alleging unique voter ID numbers have been handed to multiple voters.
Officials and agents have reported anomalies from all regions, including except Aswasi in the Ashanti region.
And in business,
management of Accra Mall to meet aggrieved customers as well as tenants over alleged cases of high rent charges.
Those doing business with us, we are still with them because times are we are not in normal times, so we are trying to also support them in the best way that we can.
And in our series of stories on COVID-19 impact on communities, we make a stop at Sumbrugu in the Bolga municipality, where a community library started over 20 years ago is helping children there to continue with their studies. My name is Aisha Ibrahim, and Joy News Prime comes to you live from our studios in Kokomlemle here in Accra on your digital terrestrial TV, because we are free to air on Go TV channel 144 and DSTV channel 421. Many thanks for choosing us. In our very first story, National Labour Commission is serving notice of heading back to court to compel striking nurses to call off their strike. According to the NLC boss, Asamo Fusu, the action of the nurses and midwives is in breach of the court's ruling. Though the National Labour Commission has secured an injunction to halt the industrial action, the striking nurses maintain they have not been officially served. Scores of patients nationwide were left stranded at various hospitals across the country today following the strike. My colleague Manuel Kranting was at the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital earlier in our report.
Send our officer there to serve them with a bill.
One by one, all the nurses on duty at the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital walk out of the facility as they join their colleagues across the country in protest of what they describe as deplorable working conditions. Led by the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, the striking nurses are complaining about government's unwillingness to meet their demands in negotiations which have been underway since September 2019. At the Accident Emergency Unit of Korle Bu, patients were turned away by nurses who were rounding up their shift. They will not even be allowed to pick their folders under the instruction, no new patients are being admitted.
And then we came back again, and they are still telling us that because they are going on strike, we should take our patients away. So my question is, where to? This is somebody on oxygen. So where are we taking her to?
Around 2 a.m. at the dawn. When we came with emergency. We came to the emergency center. They told us there is no oxygen. And I'm telling them, are they supposed to tell me Korle Bu as a teaching hospital, the emergency center does not have an oxygen? What are they telling us? Where are we supposed to go? We are from Korle Bu. So when we are sick, we are supposed to come to Korle Bu. But we came and then they were telling us we should go elsewhere. And I don't know where to go.
We came around 7 and went for a card, but they said they won't give me because they are not admitting any new case because they are on strike.
More patients were stranded at the maternity block where expectant and lactating mothers alike were seen lurking around with no available nurse to attend to them.
Nurse for now, what check cancer na room obi ani ho. Ti mama ba no ko room na what's in there strike. And nanka sa wom say holiday. Na afi we say doctors no ko strike nti obi ani doctors what's a doctor? What's the doctors na work on nti obi ani adwuma. Nti ye tena na ye ma bofo no nufo na ye wi ya akofie. Ba no we are to an operation. Until you 2 weeks, and now you have 6 weeks. Uncle, you been the washing and uncle. Yeah, my heavy, or very fine. I could be very one now. You could win you or until ya doctor, my one shame today. Yes, same review.
Maybe I have 7 to 8 more. You better you see doctors got strike. Me who ye and then 2 weeks almost a member review. The doctors got strike there yet hands here because fear.
I'm saying nurses and not doctors.
Yes, so Sunny, I tell you, almost say doctors need nurses in now. The nurses be any more age. I was say a coffee.
No, baby,
if I try and you'll be any. Maybe a veggie food and a promote.
While the tussle between the nurses and government continues, patients who are in the crossfire are pleading with government to urgently resolve the issue. For Joy News, Manuel Cranting.
In the northern region, many patients were left unattended to by nurses and midwives. Martina Bugri caught up with some of the patients and nurses.
They have collected the paper from there around 6 up to the data has not yet. But they are telling us they are on strike, what and what. I don't even know what to do. So as now from my children, my daughter from, she's at home. When I wake up, she was sleeping. I didn't even back.
I can see tears in your eyes. What's going through your mind?
As now, because they've not taken any care of my sister. And when she's vomiting still, the blood is coming. So I don't even know what to do. They're telling us they are on strike, so I don't know whether they should let us go. I don't know. But if we ask any of them, they will say that we should wait for the data to come.
For us, there are mobile yaman. The doctors for me there. Until Samisumi Pahaya, and my home. Let me just folder now. Irani. But that's the problem.
Let's get to speak with our correspondent, and we start with Martina Bugri, and she has been speaking with some of the nurses. Let's gauge the situation there. Martina, good evening to you. What can you report from the various hospitals you have visited?
What I can report is that the hospitals nurses are not working today. I visited 3 hospitals, the Tamale Regional Hospital, which is mostly referred to as the Tamale Central Hospital, the SDA Hospital, and the West Hospital. I must say that in all these hospitals, patients were stranded. There were no nurses to lead the process to get them treated. And so some travel from afar, like somebody came from the overseas community that's around Daboya, and he has to go through a process. He come over with a canoe and then alight, pick a vehicle and get to the hospital, and then he comes and there's nobody to attend to him. I also spoke to a woman who was almost in tears. She had brought her sister who was pregnant. She was vomiting and there was blood coming out of while she was vomiting, and so she had not received treatment yet. and the woman just couldn't stand it. And so a lot of people who came hoping to be treated today went home very disappointed.
The NLC is threatening to go back to court. In fact, they're accusing the nurses of breaching the court's ruling. Are they willing to go back?
What they when I spoke to the Metro director of the group, or Metro chairman of the group, what he said was that they had not received any injunction, and so they would continue with the strike. What patients and Ghanaians should be doing now is begging government or telling government to pay them, and not they listening to their patients, because they have done so much. They have exercised so much patience, and it is up to government to take on his responsibility, and they'll go back to work.
Let's turn our attention to the Eastern region, where Maxwell Kudeko is holding it down for us. Bring us up to speed, Maxwell, regarding the situation there. Where are patients seeking health care following the strike by the nurses?
Most patients who either would seek medical care at the various government institutions have resorted to private facilities. Those who are so glued to the traditional health facility have to wait for a very long time to be attended to as a result of this industrial action. Today, we learned that a lot of the staff members in this government institution, what this strike action is happening, have to do overtime. Today it will be a holiday. So ideally, most of the staff are supposed to do a half day. But for example, at the regional hospitals, most of the staff who are not nurses, the administrative staff have to stay in till the evening because of the pressure at the facility. Doctors have been struggling to manage the situation in the absence of the nurses. So it's been very difficult moment for this facility. And this morning, when we go to the proposed Central Hospital, let's say the Eastern Regional Hospital, the head of clinic, Dr. Foster Aposamenu, was struggling very hard to combine a lot of roles in attending to patients at the home. Those who are coming in, and then others who are also at the home. So somebody would say, Aluta, continua. The registered nurses and medical association are saying that they have not received officially any contribution from of the state institutions, being the Labour Commission or the ministry. So it is assumed that nothing is happening. So they agreed to their decision to strike. This morning they went to the various government institutions within the municipality to remind nurses and midwives and other categories of health professionals who fall under their jurisdiction to stay home and then ensure that the strike action is fully enforced. So if you ask me, Aluta continua unabated in the Eastern region.
Grateful for your time. Maxwell Kudeko is our Eastern region correspondent. Martina Bugiri also joined us from the Northern region. In the Central region, Kwejo Nyakon has been visiting some hospitals and he reports same story can be told of there. Listen. Let's now go to the Central region and see what Kwejo Nyakon has been gathering from patients and nurses there.
Currently at the Anchorage Psychiatric Hospital, this is the OPD section, the Dr. Kwao Ama Elo OPD complex. This is where the OPD services are given patients and then their relatives that come here. The hospital is unusually silent because we are told that the nurses that are supposed to take care of these patients are not around. They are not attending to them. The relatives here are stranded. In the morning, they were here in their numbers. They were appealing for them to be served. But the nurses that are supposed to take care of these people are conspicuously absent. The relatives that brought their patient are distraught, they are frustrated, they are stranded, they do not know what to do, they do not know the next line of action. They've been informed that there is a doctor that is traveling from Accra to come and see or take care of the patient they brought, but they've waited from morning till now and they do not know what to do. They do not even know where to even pass the night.
By 9 to 10. Sabio or Casacasa, now you know, see, Madonna Ba, a hospital or Ankafora. Mabano, Mabato, nurse of no. Na, what I tell me there. Says there was like a few so na ye holiday. Into no, see, but to me, I try Kakra and the Yanchan. Na, Dr. B. Free. Accra, Rabba, by Nereba Sanamu, or 3. Now I put me into my intimate yanchon. Yachua must say, well, but no none, my father no none. Doctor Otedamano, Yansankan, Banamadrabai.
So this man is from Nyamfiku, Ekrofo, a community that is very close to Cape Coast. He came with the daughter. The daughter is having some mental challenges. He came with her for some medication, but unfortunately, this is the situation they've come to meet. And so he is appealing to the authorities to tell them something, whether they are supposed to go back or to find a place to sleep. If tomorrow they are going to work or Tuesday they are going to work, then they know what to do. At the moment, they do not know. And he specifically does not even know what to do at the moment because he needs the medication for the daughter. Dear time about.
If show me Bahanra, and rather buy an nurse for Noah. Until I know no more can say, I dear Chombeco strike on Beco strike. A casa agrono moody. Company and pa dear Chin, nurse Niba concurrent Hanoma. Ye dear and Crawford by our mobile show. Until a friend of Payna, ye nurse in him and show. Doctors Fons will be a my see. And rather, Yamiad me a bit more cinnamon, so more one pan a can no no one pan wada. Cecil Muni had my Maya watch a papa say my chop can Sam and I am here. Now, ye doctors in tea, yes, Ramo. Madame Mamma can be my normal Rameshe.
Okay, so this is Sister Hagar. She brought the son here. Yesterday, they were here. Fortunately for them, yesterday they were attended to. But today, they came to meet a completely different situation. None of the nurses is here in the world to even attend to the son, and it's made them. It's very difficult for them to manage the situation, as she explained that it's been very difficult for them to handle. So they are appealing to the authorities to ensure that something is done for them to be able to attend to the patient that they have brought here. In fact, a lot of them are here, and then they are hoping upon hope that something would be done. So this is one area here within the Ankafo Psychiatric Hospital. This is where the patients are received. Ordinarily, by this time, this place would have been full with relatives bringing their patient in for them to seek medication. But today, everything is empty. This morning, they were here in their numbers for them, and they had to go home because the nurses are on strike. There is no one basically to attend to them. And it's a completely empty space here within the wards of the Ankafo Psychiatric Hospital. The situation is extremely biting for relatives here. They don't know where to go. They are basically at their wit end.
At the Walewale Government Hospital, patients were being turned away, according to our reporter, Elias Otanko.
This woman from a near village of Banawa has been at the hospital with this heavily pregnant woman since Saturday when they were admitted. The woman is almost in labor, she tells me. But this morning, they are being suddenly discharged and asked to seek health care elsewhere. She says the doctor who discharged them told them they could either go to Tamale, Nalirgu, or Bolga. She, however, said they are stranded.
This was about to Makani. This would try one time. I'm a pura as a bad one.
They won't ask young pie and the
But I think about some of the way. Now you'll be one of them.
and where they do. So young here, Papa.
We met this teenager who also said she is a surgery patient and had an appointment with the nurse today. But according to her, upon her arrival this morning, she was told of the strike. Now she's confused. She tells me,
But General Secretary of the Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, David Tinkran-Chum, insists they will continue with their industrial action despite the injunction claiming the leadership hasn't yet been served.
We are talking about condition of service. And as far as we are concerned, we shouldn't have gotten to this position. It's quite regrettable. Seeing tears flowing down the eyes of a patient is quite unfortunate. But for the intransigent position of the government, or if you like, the handlers of those who are negotiating with us, we wouldn't have gotten to this side. We are asking for few things, quite reasonable things that should have been given to nurses and midwives, certified registered anesthetists and physician assistants long ago. This battle should have been fought and won long ago, not now. All right? So what we are asking for, allowances, okay? Can you imagine that somebody has worked for 10 years, for 15 years, for 20 years, and doesn't have a single allowance component as part of his salary? I mean, what kind of work is that?
What specific allowances are you asking for?
We're asking for category, non-core category 2 and 3 allowances. One, we're asking for rent allowance. I mean, look at how difficult it is to find accommodation as a young nurse or a young midwife, especially the community health nurses and rural nurses when they are sent to villages and all that. So what we are asking for is a paltry percentage of their basic salary as rent allowance, so that at least they can use it to support their accommodation needs. We are asking for transport allowance, all right? When COVID reared its ugly head, look at how people struggled to be able to even go to hospital to take care of our patients, all right? We had something we call car waiver. Those days, I mean, if you had somebody elsewhere or you're able to accumulate a little amount of money, you could import a car and the government will weigh the taxes for you. It was removed. Virtually everything that goes to a nurse, a midwife, a certified registered anesthetist or a PA, was virtually removed.
Bye. Executive Secretary of the NLC, Ofosu Asamoah, disagrees.
Our officer there to serve them with a bailiff. At the time we got to their offices at Okonglo, at the reception, they came back to tell him they were in a meeting that he waited. He kept waiting for more than an hour, close to 2. And all he could realize was that those who were in the meeting had gone out and were driving their cars away. But the administrator of the office, one Mr. Abodu, was there, and service, we tried to effect service on him. He refused to.
Right, please speak up. Pardon me, Mr. Ofosu Asamoah. If you can raise your voice, we're finding it difficult to hear.
Personnel from our office and the bailiff was sent to their offices at Okonglo to serve them. They were then in a meeting, so whilst waiting at the reception, and having been notified that we were bringing them an invitation from the commission and the order from the court, we were waiting when they left through another listing and drove their vehicles away. Now, Mr. Abodu, who is the administrator of the office and who at all times is in the position and a proper person to be served, refused to take the service of the order with the letter. So I was called, I was there in the office. I spoke to him myself personally, that this is what we are sending to you, please take it, and this is the content. You can read it. And he says no, and that he was under instructions, he works under instructions. So I asked him, Are your instructions that you shouldn't receive the invitation and the order? It says yes, it was under.
And on our election headquarters, opposition NDC is demanding an independent probe into some constituencies in the ongoing voter exhibition exercise. The party contends the new register has failed the credibility test as unique voter ID numbers have been handed to multiple voters. The party also alleges that some polling stations where more than 200 names have vanished from the register, leaving just 7 individuals on it. The party's director of elections, Elvis Afriyie-Ankrah, has been presenting findings from what he says is the party's assessment of the exercise so far.
The EC voter exhibition exercise commenced on Friday, September 18. The opposition party says hundreds of voters cannot find their names in what it believes to be a deliberate election rigging plot.
Our observations show widespread anomalies at various exhibition centers across the country. So far, our officials and agents have reported anomalies from all regions, including except Aswasi in the Ashanti region. So what I'm saying is that there are anomalies everywhere, but in Ashanti region, it is only in Aswasi that we are seeing major anomalies. So you can do your own analysis. This has already given us cause to believe that the anomalies and distortions in the register may be deliberate, as it is widespread in our strongholds.
The party also claims some registration of voters is still ongoing despite the exercise ending weeks ago.
EC officials were caught on video late at night, printing and laminating an unspecified number of voter ID cards. Obviously, this is one of the modern rigging techniques the EC has deployed going into this election. Our suspicion is that either the new ID cards were being printed for non-Ghanaians who are not eligible to vote or persons who did not register at all.
The EC has dismissed claims by Ashaman MP Ernest Nogbe that his name could not be found in the register. The MP, however, insists the EC is being dishonest.
So upon persistent pressure, that was when you brought out 14,000, you reinstated, restored 14,000 people. Everybody has the right to complain. And in that also, we all have our right to vote. So no single person could sit anywhere to disenfranchise anybody, not at all. So I put that pressure and you brought a new register, reinstating my name. You see, the disparity here, or the dishonesty that I may say about the Electoral Commission is that you claim I was lying and that 21,000 people could not be missing on the register. But in your statement, you said there could be, incomplete transfer of data. Incomplete transfer of data, you are implicating yourself.
The party is urging its members to go all out and get verified to ensure the vote come December 7.
Joining me via Zoom is Dr. Serebour Kwaku, who is Director of Electoral Services at the Electoral Commission. Doc, how do you respond to accusations that unique voter ID numbers have been handed to multiple voters?
Aisha, good evening and my regards to your listeners and viewers. In the course of registration, we identified that some of the kits generated duplicate IDs. So those who were able to identify them early enough, we did the corrections and gave them the new cards. But some of them came some days after the registration. So what we did was to rectify them through the issue of new ID cards. We gave them to the districts to laminate them and give them out. So we have some few challenges with respect to the duplication of ID numbers. And we have printed new cards and it will be given to those who were involved.
Now, the party also alleges there are some polling stations where more than 200 names have vanished from the register, leaving just about 7 individuals on it. How did this happen?
We are dealing with machines and transfers and others. So more or less, we have to replace almost all the register that we printed initially. We read that some of the data were not, the transfer was not complete. So we have to do a lot of what we call end of life. End of life just means that we pick the actual machine that was used for the registration. So they can extract the data from the machine itself instead of depending on the pen drives which were used to do the transfers. So as I speak to you, we have some few of those challenges that we are rectifying. But that is the essence of exhibition. Exhibition is to expose the register to people for them to know whether their particulars are there, whether they are rightly captured and the rest. If you remember during the 2019 limited registration, we had a challenge at LMBL about 5,000 or so names. It came to our attention, we rectified them. So I would say that when there's any challenge, they should come out with it and we'll find a way of rectifying them instead of impugning malicious intentions and other things. Exhibition is done because we know that after combined voters register, you may have challenges, and we use exhibition to do those corrections.
Otherwise, what's your general assessment of the exhibition exercise so far?
So far, I think I would say it's good. If you compare with previous exhibition exercises and the rest, I think this one is good. Because I remember in 2012, I was then in Central Region. A lot of officials picked the wrong coding. So in Central Region, some of them, I don't know whether I said problem, instead of picking B, which was for Central Region, they were picking this. Other regions also had their data transferred to our base. As I speak to you, I'm aware that some of the officials, when they were doing the registration, instead of picking the right polling station code, they picked the wrong polling station code. So you have some polling stations having huge numbers as compared to others. And exhibition is the time that will rectify them. Because one is that key in the telephone number. If you 78, you key the 87, it will go to the wrong number. So all these things are there and we rectify them during the exhibition.
I'm grateful for your time. Dr. Serebour Kwaku is Director of Electoral Services at the Electoral Commission. Still to come in this bulletin, running mate for the NDC is asking the people in the Central Region to opt for the NDC rather than the NPP, saying the NDC's legacy in that region speaks for itself. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more Plus Business.
Hello once again, welcome to Business on Joy News Prime. Now, the Chief Executive of the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, Dr. Edward Kwapong, says any increment in the minimum wage will spell doom for Ghana's economic recovery. Now, there are concerns that the current minimum wage of 11 cedis is outrageously low. Speaking to Joy Business, Dr. Edward Kwapong revealed that any upward review will be subject to Ghana's economic recovery from COVID-19.
According to the company,
generally it's been agreed that levels are low in this country, and we all worry about that. But then how do you increase salary levels? As I speak, the latest figures that I know indicate that 65% of domestic revenue goes into compensation of public servants. And public servants are around the figure of 600, and they're taking 65%. So nothing for goods and services, or sorry, not nothing, but the remainder for goods and services and capex, that is capital expenditure. So it makes it a tricky one. If you continue to increase salary levels, we may not have anything at all for other developmental issues in this country. And so we are careful, we advise government. Our role is to advise government, but we are careful not to push the figures or suggest figures that are very high. Okay. For instance, when we are determining the national daily minimum wage, the tripartite arrangement holds, and therefore employers are there, the government, who is the biggest employer, is also there, and organized labor is also there. But at times when we are trying to, raise the bar, then employers association will say that let us be careful. Otherwise, you crowd out some companies, because beyond a certain level they will not be able to survive. They will go under. And we are all interested in creating jobs. So if you make a move that will cause companies to collapse or go under, then people are going to lose jobs. And when people don't have jobs, then the devil will find
but there seems to be some imbalance when it comes to this argument, because each and every year economists will say we are not matching the salaries to the outputs of most of these workers. We keep thinking about salary increments, but we do not really have a hold on the productivity of most workers, especially within the public sector.
I was coming to productivity. We don't have a nationwide productivity measurement system. We try to do that through performance management, performance appraisal, yes. But then we don't link the appraisal results to reward, So everybody is like a socialist system. Everybody gets the normal increment. So as we speak, we have initiated the process of piloting performance management in about 50 institutions. And at the end of the day, we'll pick the results, analyze the results, and reward based on your performance. So the high flyers will be recognized. And let me be quick to say this. The model that we are looking at the end of the year, if government decides to set aside so much, say 10% of GDP or whatever, for, reward in terms of annual increment and bonus and things like that, 5% of that amount will go to everybody. The remaining 5% will be distributed based on your performance. So an employee in the same company may get the remaining 5%, the whole of it. Another person will get 3% of that, another person will get 1%, and another person will get nothing at all. That way, we would create the awareness for people to be productive.
Now, management of the Accra Mall says it will handle concerns raised by its tenants and clients over the high rent charges and other alleged unfair conditions there. According to the marketing manager of the mall, Anthony Asamoah, he's assured that his outfit will soon issue a communique to address the concerns raised by agitating clients. There is more in this report.
According to the company, the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic has impacted negatively on businesses that need to be revived with incentives, hence the decision to take up the initiative. The donation, which was embarked at Okonglo, Bawaleshi and Spintex, is part of the initiatives of the company to help alleviate the plight of the community from the coronavirus pandemic. Marketing manager of the Accra Mall, Anthony Asamoah, told Joy Business, management of the mall is handling all concerns raised, including incentives, which will soon be made known to the public.
Well, for those doing business with us, we are still with them because times are we are not in normal times, so we are trying to also support them in the best way that we can. But basically, if you look around us, we have so many families struggling, low turnovers, low income, loss of jobs. So this is our way of supporting our catchment area. For those who do business with us, we're definitely with them and we'll definitely sort everything out with them. So management is handling that as well as we speak. Management is handling it. So I would like to really touch more on that for today. Management is handling it.
But it's likely you come out with a strategy for them.
Definitely. Management will communicate whatever it is.
He explains that more of such reliefs will be given to businesses operating in the mall to support their operations.
Well, due to the COVID-19 that hit the country very hard and the world at large, and in the 2020 year, Accra Mall sat down and came up with a strategy to help our community. And how do we help? What do we have that we can give in our small way to also, help people through the struggle? We came up with the Accra Mall's Green Survival Pack, which is basically giving essential food items and supplies to our neighboring communities. That's why we came up with the initiative. It's more of a corporate social responsibility that we have done or put together.
The initiative is a partnership between the Accra Mall Green Survival Park and Give Back Ghana.
Well, and that's it by way of business. Sports is up next with Gary L. Smith. Just stay.
Hope you've had an enjoyable holiday. For us here, it's been work. I'm Gary Al Smith with the sports. And in our first story, the Executive Council of the Ghana Football Association has taken a decision to donate their monthly allowance for this month, September 2020, to the Ofinso accident victims. Now, all the members of the council collectively decided today to support the victims, and this follows an accident on Saturday, which you might have seen on Joy News, involving about 34 young footballers of Africa Vision Soccer Academy that claimed the lives of 8 footballers as the minibus they were traveling on plunged into the River Ofin. Sadly, 6 of the young footballers died on the spot, while one who was in critical condition died at the Konfanoche Teaching Hospital in Kumasi on Sunday. 10 of the victims were treated at the St. Patrick's Hospital and have since been discharged. The GFA on Sunday sent a delegation, you see pictures there, led by Executive Council member Frederick Achampong, aka Achi, and the Ashanti Regional Football Chairman, Oseitu Ajiman, to Ofinso to commiserate with families of the victims and to visit the injured player. President Akufo-Addo has approved the Ghana Football Association's decision for the 2020-21 football season to start in October. Now, the president announced on Sunday that the Ghana Premier League and other domestic competitions will start in the month ending October. And this was announced by the association in July, if you recall, after they cancelled the 2019-20 season due to the coronavirus pandemic.
Outbreak of COVID-19 in the country in mid-March forced the government to suspend all sporting activities as one of the measures to stop the spread of the virus. On May 31, the president began the easing of restrictions gradually for various sporting disciplines. However, contact sports remained suspended. On June 30, the Ghana Football Association Executive Council took a decision to cancel the 2019-2020 football season due to the unavailability of timelines on when contact sports was likely to resume. The government of Ghana and the Ghana Football Association have been engaging in steps to ensure the return of football safely. During the 17th edition of the COVID-19 update, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo announced contact sport, of which football is a part, has been permitted to resume. The Ghana Premier League and the Division 1 League are expected to start on October 30.
With respect to football, after due consultations with the Ghana Football Association, it has been decided that the Ghana Premier League and the Division 1 Football League will restart on Friday, 30th October, with a full regime of testing of the players, technical and management staff.
With the pandemic still a part of the system, the president also announced that football spectators are permitted to resume to the stadium to support their clubs. However, this would be done with only 25% of the capacity of the various match centers.
And when actual competition resumes, seating at all stadia will be limited to 25% capacity to ensure social distancing. Wearing of masks by spectators at stadia will be mandatory. The restart of all other sporting competitions will be determined on a case-by-case basis, pending consultations between the Ministry of Youth and Sports and the respective sport association.
Ghana Football Association is expected to communicate to its members on when pre-season can resume and the structure of the 2020-2021 football season.
Still on football, Executive Council member Dr. Tony Obin has described the number of spectators to be allowed to the match centers for league matches as a challenge. Now, despite embracing the lifting of suspension on contact sports, Dr. Obin says the league is dependent on stadium attendances to generate revenue.
On Sunday, the President Nana Akufo-Addo eased restrictions on contact sports after over 100 days of suspension, paving the way for the resumption of football. Executive Council member of the GFA, Tony Obin, described the ease of restrictions as a sigh of relief.
It's really an exciting time. Everybody has been waiting for this time. Remember, when we tried to go back to football, it was all about trying to bring back the love. And I am sure we were so disappointed by the rude disruption this COVID pandemic. But here we are. Thank God for the easing of that restriction, and I'm sure every Ghanaian, especially football-loving Ghanaian, is also excited about that.
Despite the excitement greeting the return of football, clubs must make do with 25% spectators at match centers. Tony Obin says the number is a challenge.
Yes, I must admit that this is a challenging time. Most of our clubs rely a lot on the gate proceeds. We are not playing a league system where we have a dominance of sponsorship and all that. So it's quite challenging. And of course, I would also take the opportunity to even appeal to corporate entities to try and understand our situation and maybe come to the aid of our clubs. I am aware that the FA is leaving no stone unturned to sort of attract sponsorship. The FA president, Kurt, has been running around sleeplessly trying to uncover some sponsorship opportunities for the clubs.
And that's the sport for now. Gary Al-Smith here. Thank you for your time.
And it's time now for Showbiz. Becky is here with the very latest. Hello, Becky.
Hello to you, Aisha.
And
today it's a holiday.
And happy what?
Independence
Day.
Yeah, sort of.
Happy holiday.
Happy holiday. So what happened on Joy Prime today? They had loads of fun.
Okay.
So they actually decided that they will go to where, Kwame Nkrumah is. You know what I mean?
Where is that?
Oh,
you don't know that?
Oh, it's the Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum. Why? Why
that's
you giving
when
me
they hosted the show.
The show, and they had great entertainers passing through. If you missed out on it, here's your chance.
Oh, Sarkodie in the building.
He should have awarded us.
He should have brought Dr. Ewan there.
Somebody is saying that we should stop hailing Dr. Ewan.
Oh, yes, we should, because he doesn't deserve all those. I mean, he doesn't deserve our audience. We should just
let him go.
Yeah.
Aisha, let's talk about eVibes.
eVibes.
So eVibes is set to hit your screens on Saturday before just before
That's
News
27th
File.
of September.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
I can't wait.
Yeah, personally, I can't wait too. So for those of you who are still wondering what eVibes is about,
and that's
eVibes.
eVibes.
I can't wait. Me too. But do we have time, David? Let's talk about the Emmys 2020. It was held virtually by Jimmy and Jennifer Aniston. Loads of excitement. ET Entertainment put this together.
Congratulations to all the award winners. That's it for Showbiz. Thank you so much, Becky, for bringing us Showbiz. And for those of you watching on Joy Prime, that'll be it. The news continues on Joy News. Let's zoom on your election headquarters because former President John Dramani Mahama has ended his 4-day campaign tour of the Bono East region. The NDC flag bearer addressed Nananom party faithful in all the 11 constituencies of the newly created region, assuring them of his commitment to improving various sectors of the economy with much emphasis on agriculture. Here is a wrap from correspondent Anna Sabit, who's been on the ground for us.
First, the former President John Dramani Mahama began his tour of the newly created region with a courtesy call on the Omahini of the Amantin Traditional Council, where he promised to upgrade the Amantin Health Center into a polyclinic when voted into office.
I say 2016, Abraham Mia Mampini, Sunday, I'm near the 12, I'm about Amantin, I'm a car. More health center myself. Say Yamia Madum, not the Bayer Mampinia. Vipija Health Center, no, Abaye Polyclinic.
He then proceeded to KGG in the Sini East district where he addressed a deba of chiefs and party faithfuls. Here, The Omahini of the Nkomi traditional area, Nana Osuri Sunkwa Kurunku II, called on the former president to, amongst others, construct a hospital for the predominantly farming community.
Your Excellency, we thank you for the numerous cheap compounds and other health facilities provided by the previous government. Looking at the population, location and size of the district, we shall be grateful if a hospital and more cheap compounds can be put for the district when it comes.
On day 2, Mr. Mahama visited the president of the Bon Ahafo Regional House of Chiefs and Omahini of the Yeji Traditional Council, Pimampim Yao Kabrese V. The traditional ruler advised the NDC leader and other political parties to desist from delving into chieftaincy issues in order to safeguard the dignity of the traditional institution.
Senior constitutional Eddie Barrier Ato Nananum Any Muse Maubia and Elki Policy Sarah Ena constitutional chair said Emma politicians and so empire home and ahisemu Nana Yetimi Ehu say politics Edidi Eura ahisemu it mo hwe say ahisemu no politicians one mo fa mo ho enyi.
On his part, Mr. Mahama assured the traditional ruler of his party's commitment to that request and called on the chief to caution the MPP, who, according to him, are masterminding violence during elections.
Omuna debia omode kopanaba ayawa so westwoko ni omkoye oho etututio ebesi nne abrante ne bako ne nan otimi nante kani arre ho ni se enu echi no MPP pejinfo aite se akobodamfo omso ayawa so westwoko muka se bibi enu eye kwada engro na election and Kasaba,
Then the team paid a courtesy call on the chiefs and people of Kokoma, Abiase, Zabrama, and Apesika communities. Mr. Mahama then commissioned a high-quality cassava factory established by the NDC Member of Parliament for Kintampo North, Honorable Percy Etobonde. Here, the former president accused the Nanado-led government of bringing hardships to local farmers as the prices of foodstuff is on a record low. On the third day, the first point of call was a meeting with the Concerned Assembly Members Association of Ghana, CAMAG, where he reaffirmed his decision to pay assembly members a monthly allowance when voted into power. In turn also, Mr. Mahama at a mini deba accused the NPP of copying policies captured in the NDC's People's Manifesto.
Yeah, I told you, copy. Yenyamba abemwa yede manifesto no be yejuma no yede manifesto no tuja okada asem no na yimpo ya dwen ho e ya de anka e pese ye monkoso na monkope na monye.
He then paid a courtesy call on the Omahini of the Techiman Traditional Council, Nana Osiadio Ekunfu Amiao. There were many rallies held in Chobodom, Arwa, Krobo, Jama, Nsuta, and Techiman, where Mr. Mahama reiterated his commitment to legalize the Okada trade. Reporting for Joy News, Anas Sabit, Techiman.
Back in Accra, the governing NPP has accused former President Mahama of supervising a weak financial sector that eventually created the financial sector crisis, arguing poor management of the Mahama administration eventually led to the collapse of banks and the merger of others. The NPP has also refuted claims by the opposition NDC the sudden decision to pay cash instead of the originally scheduled bond payment to depositors of defunct financial institutions is influenced by the NDC's manifesto pledge. Addressing the party's weekly press conference in Accra Monday afternoon, former communications director of the NPP, Nana Komia, drew a correlation between what he describes as poor management of the sector and the eventual crisis.
What is the background of this banking crisis that has engulfed the nation? I can tell you without any doubt at all that the banking crisis was caused by the inefficiencies of President Mahama's administration between the period 2012 to 2016. You will recall that a 2016 financial stability report of the Bank of Ghana revealed that bad loans on the banks of commercial banks in the country had increased by 14.9% to 4.52 billion in 2015 as against 2.72 billion in 2014. So in 2014, the amount of bad loans on the books of the banks was 2.72 billion Ghana cedis. Just a year after, in 2015, the amount of bad loans had increased from 2.72 billion to 4.52 billion in just 1 year. Indeed, President Mahama himself, in the State of the Nation address in 2016, stated, and I quote, "Mr. Speaker, over the past 5 years, there has been a proliferation of microfinance companies. These companies come under the supervision of the Bank of Ghana. Unfortunately, the lack of effective supervision has resulted in many cases in which microfinance companies licensed by the Bank of Ghana have breached the rules and created pyramid schemes that have eventually come crashing down." So you have President Mahama himself admitting in the State of the Nation address in 2016 that over the last 5 years, that's from 2011, 2012, there was a banking crisis in the financial sector of Ghana. Actually, in those last 5 years that President Mahama mentioned, 82 microfinance companies had collapsed. Now, after this admission by President Mahama, let's look at his response, the government's response over the period to this crisis. The response of President Mahama to this crisis in the banking sector, ladies and gentlemen, was very simple. Throw more money at them. One bank, Capital Bank, for example, was given a total of 620 million cedis of taxpayers' monies.
Nana Komia has also been casting doubt on the credibility of the former president when it comes to delivering on the many freebies the party has captured in its 2020 manifesto.
The NDC over the years has proven to be gravely inconsistent, especially under the leadership of Mr. Mahama. You will be better people to tell us the stance of President Mahama when he was president. He condemned free SHS. Taking a cue from him, his appointees and functionaries supported him in also condemning free SHS. They said if it was possible, President Nkrumah was the person who could have done it. They said it could be done only in 20 years. President Mahama said that anything that is free cannot have quality. You all remember those things. Today he's looking to the pages of their manifesto. He's promising a lot of free things. You remember how they took an innocent pastor sermons that he had given 20 years earlier. They went and took his words, played them in advertising, say that this is the man of God, and he's saying that anything free is not good. So what has happened? What has changed? Why is President Mahama promising all this avalanche of free things in their manifesto? When you told Ghanaians that free was not good, and when you come and tell us in your manifesto that you are going to grow the Ghanaian economy, is it that when he is in opposition, he sees things differently?
And today, in our series of stories on the impact of the coronavirus pandemic on communities, we take you to Sumbrugu in the Bolgatanga municipality of the Upper East region, where a community library started over 20 years ago is helping children there to continue with their studies in the wake of the closure of schools across the country. Here's a report by correspondent Albert Sori.
It is a wet afternoon after hours of rain here in Sumbrugu, and many would rather stay indoors. But not 11-year-old Selina Anyeta, who needs to catch up on her studies. 5 months without school due to the coronavirus pandemic means that Selina must find other ways to keep studying, since her parents cannot afford private tuition for her at home. The community library, located inside the Sumbrugu Women's Center, is the perfect place for Selina and other children to learn without getting distracted. Therefore, not even the rain will stop her from missing today's opportunity to learn.
We come to study, to learn the things we don't know. And books are there for references. Anything we read and we don't understand, we can refer to other books. And still, if we don't understand, we can ask the librarians and they will help us.
The Sumbrugu Community Library was set up by the Center for Sustainable Rural Development, a community-based organization started by Rex Asanga, who is now the MPP's parliamentary candidate for the Bolgatanga Central constituency. It is one of 3 libraries set up in different communities under the Community Libraries Project, which began in the year 1998 to help improve the reading habits of school children.
I had heard of an organization called Friends of African Village Libraries that was into supporting community libraries in Burkina Faso. So I sent them a mail asking that if Saint Burkina and Bolga were not very far, if they could extend the same assistance to us. And they sent somebody who came and did a kind of needs assessment of the area. And then they went back, and yeah, that is how the community libraries came into being. So after some years, we went to Sergo. We moved to Gori Konkwa in Bongo district and started another. So we're actually currently running 3 community libraries.
Today, the Sumbrugu Community Library is not just a place where Selina and her colleagues can come to read. It also employs a librarian and an instructor who together guide the children to discuss their assignments and do group studies. Paul Ayutolia is the coordinator for the community libraries, who also volunteers as the instructor.
Because of the coronavirus, that's why the numbers are even a little bit lower. And then when they come, they pass through all the protocols. We have a Veronica bucket at the entrance where they first of all wash their hands before coming in. And then we have sanitizers in the library hall. Once a while, they sanitize.
Hello there, we're back with business. Now, beverage firm Casapreco is optimistic it will create over 300 jobs amid COVID-19 as government's $28 million tax waiver births a new factory in Kumasi. The managing director, Richard Ajay, tells Joy Business this forms part of the company's activity and impressions of expanding its operations in the Tanoso region and also creating jobs under the 1D1F initiative.
One district, one factory program that the government put in place that encouraged us to put up this factory here in Tanoso. We certainly believe that without the government support, entrepreneurs and the private industry cannot grow as fast as we want to. So with the incentives, I believe that it has really helped us a lot to build this factory. We got incentives to waive our duties for the machines. Machines worth over $10 million. We got a lot of duties as well for the raw materials. Total duties waiver and taxes that we got was about $28 million for 5 years.
Well, let's now take you to the Volta region. After COVID-19 hit the tourism sector real bad, losing over $3 billion. Various tourist sites are picking up gradually when it comes to domestic tourism. My colleague Fred Duho visited some tourist sites in the Volta region and now reports.
Traveling for about 40 minutes, we made our first stop at the Adaklu Mountain. Ceci Moses has lived in this community for over 50 years. He tells me people come to hike on the mountain for fun but pay nothing.
I'm over now. Papa Henuzio ole tiango ebe amoyi na va pona dake me charge na khona e gadeke laosio.
After catching the beautiful sights and landscape, we went through Ho to Tafi Atome.
We have been welcomed by one of the monkeys here at the Tafi Atome Monkey Sanctuary.
The manager of the Monkey Sanctuary, Francis Akwe, was of the firm belief that Volta region stands to gain from tourism than any other natural resources.
Volta region has gotten, the best the best natural attractions, potentials that we can turn into tourism. Yes, tourism is benefiting. Volta region benefits a lot from tourism because most of the tourists that visit Ghana, they like to visit Volta region. We should target cleanliness.
And that's it by way of business. The news continues.
As I wrap up the bulletin tonight, my name is Aisha Ibrahim. For more news, log on to myjohnline.com for all the updates. Enjoy the rest of our programs.